All right, well, welcome everyone to this live DonorSearch broadcast. My name is Andy. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships here at DonorSearch, and I get the pleasure today of interviewing one of my friends and somebody I've worked together with, Sarah Richards from Dynamic Catholic. Hello, Sarah. How are you?
Hi, Andy. Doing well. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great. Sarah and I are lucky enough in that we get to do a presentation next week out at DreamForce on the same day that Barack Obama is presenting at DreamForce. We're going to be presenting at 9 a.m. on Thursday, talking about how to use Salesforce and how to use the apps attached to Salesforce to turn one-time donors into major donors. I have had the privilege of getting a chance to work with Sarah on this presentation for a while, and we're really, really excited about everything. But what we wanted to do was take a second to get to know Sarah and the organization a little bit better, and maybe how your interactions with DonorSearch and how things have been going. And I'd love to just kind of learn a little bit more about the organization and how you guys have been successful. So I figured I'd ask you a few questions. Hopefully they're not too bad, and hopefully get some good conversation out of this. The first thing, Sarah, if possible, tell us a little bit about the organization. Talk to us a little bit about who Dynamic Catholic is and what you guys do.
Yeah, so Dynamic Catholic is a lay ministry in the Catholic Church, and our mission is to re-engage Catholics and to really help people become the best version of themselves by creating world-class content. So we have kind of what I would call three main legs that we do here at Dynamic Catholic. So we have inspiring speakers, internationally known, who speak throughout the country, parts of Canada sometimes, but all over. So they're not localized to Northern Kentucky, where we're based out of here, just south of Cincinnati. So speakers is a big part of it, and having those motivational events. And then we also we have a warehouse here at our main office in Northern Kentucky, and we distribute life-changing books and resources and content out of our warehouse. And then the third leg are these online world-class learning systems that people can log in from anywhere and access for free. Actually, one of the companies we partnered with for one of our children's programs was a partner with Pixar. So we are really excited about all the different resources that we get to offer to people for free, because we are a nonprofit. And we're a little bit larger than people think. I know there's tons of organizations out there that people recognize the name of, but we're around 80 people. So we have a decent sized staff here in Northern Kentucky, and it's been a pleasure to partner with DonorSearch. We got Salesforce back in 2010. Because we were growing and we needed a lot more than the systems we had could provide, and DonorSearch was another one of those systems that we did eventually partner with. But I'll talk about that more, I think, probably in some of your more questions.
Oh, hey, I appreciate it. That's really unique. I really like how you guys are providing that, and then that's something that I think is kind of unique in this space, and that's one of the reasons why I think we like working with organizations like yours, is that you guys are not just sort of repeating what other organizations are doing. You guys are really going out there and kind of doing something different and making your own difference, and I'm very, very appreciative of that. On the research side, I know that that you work in the research department there for Dynamic Catholic. I'd ask, before the donor searches came around, right, before you implemented and started working with our application, can you describe a little bit about the process that you would use to identify and qualify incoming potential donors?
Yeah, in simple terms, we didn't really have one at a very basis level. So we actually started partnering with DonorSearch not too long after we got Salesforce. But before DonorSearch, one of the main things, honestly, that we basically would do is we just look at home values. And if a home value was above our average, we would just toss them directly into a portfolio. We wouldn't really do a ton more than that. I mean, obviously they were existing donors who were engaged with our mission, and it appeared that they might have further capability to give. But before DonorSearch, there really wasn't a whole lot more than that.
Got it. Yeah. No, I'd imagine almost every other organization at least started in some way, shape, or form with real estate. That was kind of where this prospect research world started, was being able to do real estate in bulk, and now obviously there's 80 other things that we can do along the way. When you began to sort of identify that problem, you said, okay, well, we're relying on real estate, and this is kind of how we're set to qualifying people. What is it exactly? Speak a little bit to what you guys were trying to solve when it was like, okay, I'm going to look for a screening solution. I'm going to look for a prospect solution that's going to get us a little bit beyond that level of real estate. Was there something in particular that you were looking for out of like a screening product or a vendor?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're national. So at the time, we were very blessed. We had over 250,000 contacts, donors in our system. Not necessarily like current donors, but somebody who had donated to the organization or the ministry at one point or another. And we were launched our first really big $20 million campaign to really get some of those initial programs off the ground. And so with a $25 million campaign, over 250,000 contacts, and then me being the only resource to kind of filter in and decide who we're going to go and meet with, we knew that me going by one, whether that was home value or not, was not the best system. So we wanted a tool that would integrate with Salesforce so we could see things, like previous giving up next to the information we had in Salesforce, like the last time they actually gave to us or the last time they opened one of our emails. So we looked at a lot of different vendors, and I've told Bill Tedesco this story, but like in one way, all the roads led to DonorSearch. I mean, we interviewed different people, and different people, even for the other vendors, kind of ended up, if you would ask the right questions, came back to DonorSearch. But ultimately, one of the big things was that integration with Salesforce. So DonorSearch integrated with Salesforce, but we also did demos of all the other vendors out there. And one of the things we found was that DonorSearch was one of the most reliable. So one of the things we did, which I think probably a lot of other nonprofits will do, is for the people we asked to get profiles from DonorSearch, we picked like our board members, our president, some of what we already knew to be our big major givers. And I remember at one point, me and our director of development were with this one vendor, and they were showing us the results, and they're like, oh yeah, like this guy gives like a ton of money to this hospital in Maryland. And we were like, that's our president, he's never been to Maryland. We know like that's not correct. Versus when we brought up the DonorSearch records, the matching is so tight. I mean, it is, I've almost never, especially now as you guys keep updating, I've almost never seen a record that is incorrect. And if it's incorrect, it tends to be the father of the son whose name and middle initial are the same, or that, John Smith type case. But your matching was so close, and the integration with Salesforce and your team was incredible. Not pushy, just friendly and wanting to help.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. It sounds like, again, kind of reiterate, it sounds like the integration inside of Salesforce, the accuracy and the matching logic, the comprehensive level of it, and then I think to your point, I think just the team, everything kind of came together, and it sounded like it made your decision making a little bit easier. So that's good. I'm appreciative of that. Now that we've selected DonorSearch, and now that you said, okay, I know that this is my solution moving forward, and we like it because of these reasons, and we're going to implement it inside of Salesforce. How, now that it's been implemented, how has DonorSearch helped you reach your fundraising goals? How has it been sort of a key part of finding that success with the organization?
Yeah, so actually going back to the real estate part, again, we use a lot of reports, and we being nonprofit world, often do rely heavily on real estate. But I think one of the greatest things about DonorSearch is it helps you move beyond real estate into giving and assets. So I remember this one couple that we were looking at, and they lived on a small farm in Iowa. And DonorSearch said, hey, but they've given, these other gifts to these other institutions. So we started looking into it and found out that he was like an orthopedic surgeon. And we went out and, well, okay, I didn't go out. I sent it to one of my gift officers who went out. They met with them and secured a $25,000 gift. And the woman goes, and if there's ever any special projects that you have, just let us know.
That's music to the ears, right? Yeah.
It was great. Yeah, because again, if we had looked at real estate alone with the data we already had in our database, we probably never would have met with them, because on a basic level, they didn't seem like major givers until those donor search numbers started alerting us that something bigger was there, which was amazing.
No, I like that. And that's the type of success story that everybody dreams about, right? Is not only, hey, did I find the right prospect and did I go out and secure a gift, but hey, that prospect also raised their hand and said, I will continue to give and I will continue to be supportive. That's the gold win. That's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? I'm going to maybe shift the conversation a little bit over to Salesforce. And I think, in our world, we get a chance to work with a ton of different clients that are using a ton of different CRM solutions. And one thing that I'm curious about with you and your team and your organization, Salesforce is in some ways it's a lot to take on. It can be very complex. It can be something that has a whole lot of customization and functionality, and it's sort of known for being this open system where you can sort of program and plug in apps and do a lot of things creatively. So I'm curious, when your organization turned to Salesforce, do you know what sort of the key reasons were? Like, what was it about Salesforce that made it a good fit for your organization?
Yeah, so a slightly disappointing answer to start with. When we first picked it, I was actually not here. So we picked it in 2010. I didn't start till 2012. So about 2 years after we got Salesforce was when I started. So I wasn't part of that decision-making process. One of the things that I do know, though, as I mentioned, we were really starting to grow and take off, and we had a different CRM before Salesforce. I don't think it wasn't one of the classic Razor's Edge or Blackbot or anything like that. It was a different, I think, for-profit CRM. And when we got Salesforce, there wasn't a nonprofit component. But one of the things, so back in 2010, monthly giving wasn't a big aspect, and we were already doing it back then. So I know that integrating the monthly giving aspect into our CRM and from our billing system was really a big part of that. And we were able to customize and build out those objects, those components, those emails, those follow-up phone calls right within Salesforce. So again, I'm not 100% sure what all the different factors going into it were, but I do know we were trying to project out into the future with our growth, as well as looking at our monthly giving team and how best our CRM could support and really offer our donors what they needed.
Yeah, actually, I like that you brought up kind of that growth aspect, because a lot of the organizations that we tend to work with, especially those in the Salesforce world, are organizations that are growing, that are constantly growing, and it's sort of a great platform to have when you're in that type of transition as an organization, especially with how open it can be and customizable. I mean, you guys took a sales platform and turned it into a fundraising CRM. That shows you kind of the ability that they have to sort of manipulate and kind of form to meet whatever your needs are and whatever your standards are. So I actually find that probably like the most interesting part of getting to know you and this organization over this process has been that you guys actually started almost on the for-profit side, if you will, of the Salesforce relationship, and you guys were utilizing those for-profit tools and then kind of using it in a way that sort of helped funnel the sort of classic fundraising CRM type platform needs. So it's actually really, really cool that you went that way. I'm always appreciative of that.
Yeah,
When
I just want to touch on the part you said about like the growth aspect.
Mhm.
So right now we're actually switching to the nonprofit package, and as you know, Salesforce is also switching from Classic to Lightning. We're also switching from a platform called Magento to the Salesforce Commerce Platform,
Mhm.
and I know this probably sounds crazy to a lot of people, but I think in some ways, if you can look out into the future and try to make a change before all that happens, it's a
Mhm.
lot easier because then you're already there and you can start making the changes along the way versus if you get so far along in the process and then you have to go, and we're talking about a lot of different customized fields that you're then trying to mix back in and trying to streamline. And I think it's a lot easier if you do make that change sooner and can
Mhm.
kind of grow with the system instead of having this massive growth and then all of a sudden having to make this huge leap.
Yep. Yep.
But that's just
Yep.
my
Great advice.
that's the
Great
fastest word.
advice. So, so we've talked a little bit about how Salesforce was a good fit, and we talked a little bit about how DonorSearch was a good fit. We talked about a little bit of success and things like that. If you don't mind me asking, sort of post-purchase, right? After you've made this investment and you established this process, what has your experience been like as far as the DonorSearch side of things in working with us and the relationship that you have with the company? What can you talk a little bit about what that's been like for you?
Yeah, so actually, Andy, that's one of my favorite questions to answer. I'm going to tell it in a story format. So, DonorSearch at one point got this new feature where you could search for donors purely based on their phone number. And when that feature was first released, you could only do the characters of the phone number themselves. So, if you searched it in that standard format with the brackets and the dashes, it didn't work. And Salesforce puts it in that format with the dashes and the brackets. So I would have to take it from Salesforce and back, delete some and then add the other fields. And it was a little cumbersome. And it was like in a beta version that they were like, hey, you're a power user, do you want to try this? So I emailed one of the guys at Sales or at DonorSearch, and I said, hey, this is the problem I'm running into. I just want to make you aware. And they emailed me back within 15 minutes, and they said, great, thanks for letting us know it's now fixed. And I was totally blown away because that kind of customer service really isn't common. And the second part of this is more just funny. It's not really connected. I mean, it's connected, but funny. I was at a conference a couple of years later, and I met with somebody else on the team at DonorSearch, and I told them that story, right? We like to talk about our experiences. So I told them that story, and the guy started cracking up laughing. And I was like, what's so funny? He said, well, your name happens to be Sarah. Bill's daughter, Sarah Tedesco, is also Sarah. He said, we kind of thought Bill created that story and just like, we kind of thought maybe it was like his daughter, Sarah. He goes, I can't believe you're real. And I was like, no, 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 totally, totally real. Like it really blew me away. The customer service from DonorSearch, 15 minutes. They had, okay, this is the problem. We'll fix it and make it easier for our users in 15 minutes. That's
Wow,
crazy.
well, that's a great story. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, that's certainly a source of pride for us, right? Is working and providing great client support and quick support, especially. I mean, it's something as important as saying, hey, we need to pull data this way, and this isn't working in this way, and we need this to function in order to keep our daily processes alive. And I'm glad that was a positive experience. If you don't mind me asking, outside of how good maybe the client supports and the success teams have been, is there another sort of reason why you may recommend DonorSearch to people in the future? I mean, as far as a product standpoint, as far as on the technology side with the app, why might you go recommend DonorSearch to your peer?
Yeah, so there's multiple reasons. So one being, yes, the team is amazing. Throughout the process, I'd say, hey, I need a demo for my major gift officers, or I need a demo for my directors, and they were always great at responding, hey, let's get online, let's do this, what works for you. So that component was amazing, very competitive in the pricing model, and honestly, I know in the nonprofit world, a lot of people do this, but I think it's really easy to present, hey, this is how much it's going to cost. And if we can find, one donor, we've already made up that investment and more. And the truth is, you're going to find more than one donor if you partner with DonorSearch, unless you only have one donor. And then in that case, maybe only one. But so, I mean, the cost component is really comparative to a lot of the other resources and other vendors out there, the client support, the whole team, the sales team. The sales process, it was never like they're constantly badgering you, they're pushing you in. I know me, and I think a lot of people out there kind of get frustrated when it's like, no, you have to purchase it now, and like then you're gonna lose X, Y, and Z. So like you have to make the decision by like this date, and it's like I'm not going to be. And there was nothing like that with DonorSearch, which was great. They said, hey, here's your free screenings. The other thing that I loved about the DonorSearch process was that they actually gave me the platform to use for, I think, like 30 days. I guess maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't know if you still do that, but they let me go.
We do. That's fair.
Okay, well, they let me go in and try for 30 days. And then when I got locked out, I lost my mind. And I was like, okay, now I'm like, I need this, right? Like I've been using it and now you can't take it away. I really need this. So getting to actually not just like a demo use it, oh, let's look up a couple of your donors, but in your job, right? Like trying to implement it in your daily job. That was amazing. Yeah, client support, it integrates with Salesforce. Your matches are so tight. It's really, it's one of the most affordable resources I think out there for what you get, which is so many different points of data. And even if you just look at hiring somebody to go get those points of data, I'm not trying to put anyone out of a job, but like, I mean, you can hire somebody to get some of those things like your home value, your stock holdings, your giving to other institutions, your additional properties they may own, the boards they sit on. Like, yeah, you can hire somebody to get all those points, but to have it all in one place at the click of a button, integrated with Salesforce, it's amazing. It's really amazing.
I'm very appreciative of that. Thank you. So I think we've established well that you like DonorSearch, you like Salesforce. Everything's been working well and everything's been good. But really, no matter what investments you make into vendors and technology and new processes, what's important is the success of the organization and what you guys have been able to accomplish going on. And you spoke a little bit about identifying a new donor and how DonorSearch was able to help you find some key folks that you might have missed. I'm more curious on an organizational level. Are there any sort of like programs or initiatives that maybe were made possible by the research that you're doing with DonorSearch and the heavy lifting you're doing with this major gift prospecting? Are there programs or initiatives that you've taken on that you guys are particularly proud of in terms of success?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andy. Thank you. So as I mentioned, we were launching this $25 million campaign to create these online free tools with companies like the one we partnered with Pixar for one of our animation programs. But one of the other programs we were able to create are these online short video programs that are offered for free, and millions of people have been able to go through and experience them. And they're called Best Lent and Best Advent Ever. So actually starting the first week of December, the beginning of Advent this year, anyone can go to Dynamic Catholic or just Google Best Advent Ever, and they can sign up for this daily video program for free. And the part that's awesome is the program changes every year. It's like a 3-minute video to kind of help you as you prepare for Christmas, and it's completely free. There's no strings attached. And the fact that millions of people have gone through it is incredible, partially thanks to the help that DonorSearch and our donors and Salesforce really have all come together to allow us to raise the funds for people to be able to experience Best Advent Ever. So really cool free online program. Like I said, you can just Google Best Advent Ever and it'll come up, and you'll automatically get this short video to your email every day to help you prepare for Christmas, which is really cool.
And And I'm going to make the suggestion that everybody who's watching this right now, please go Google that, right? Best Advent ever. That is, you use the word incredible. I would use the same. That is a really, really cool thing and a cool initiative to have. I'm grateful to get the chance to work with you and your organization. So to kind of wrap things up and just to kind of close, obviously what sort of spawned this conversation was the fact that you and I get a chance to present at DreamForce. If you want to give us a little bit of a shout out, when can we find you? What are we talking about? That sort of thing.
Yeah. So Andy and I will both be there for the whole conference. We're getting in on Monday. Yes, we will be there. Our presentation is on Thursday morning. It's Star Wars themed. We're just like fun people, right? So we want you to have fun there too. We have a couple of fun little Star Wars giveaways, but addition to be able to learn as a nonprofit some different tricks and tools to help you identify your one-time givers and move them along that pipeline into being a major giver. Some of them, are free resources and tools you can build right within Salesforce, which is really cool, and the DonorSearch integration. So yeah, our presentation at 9 a.m. on Thursday morning at DreamForce. We're definitely excited and looking forward to seeing everyone. But I know DonorSearch has a booth at DreamForce, and I like Andy, so I'll be there occasionally, but not all the time. I don't want to get, too much, but I'll be around as well. So, yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, you can catch DonorSearch at Dreamforce. We will have a booth in the .org lounge. We'll be doing a demo jam on Tuesday at 3 p.m. along with other groups doing a demo jam for the nonprofit sector. I would encourage everybody to come stop by and say hi and come check out Sarah and I's presentation on Thursday. She's right, Jedi's fun, Star Wars. It's going to be a blast, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us this afternoon. Really, really appreciate it. And I'm very, very grateful to be working with you, and hopefully we get to continue working with you for a long time.
Thanks so much, Andy, and we'll see you all at Dreamforce.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.